It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Oklahoma Archery Podcast. I'm David Bosca.
I'm Neil Cooley.
What do you say, Neil?
Oh, probably be our last episode before Christmas, so want to take this opportunity and tell everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whichever one of the versions you celebrate. We hope it's a very merry one for you. I'll tell everybody real quick, the next 3 dates we're going to do tournaments. We're going to be at Oakeyland this weekend. Might check with Bryn on the details. I'm pretty sure he said the Rushmore Rumble 5 spot, we're going to shoot a 600 round on it. Might be Saturday, might be Sunday. We're not exactly sure right now, but check Oakeyland this weekend. And then on the 28th, we're going to be shooting a 20 target fun round at Trosper. That's a 3D. That's a outside in the cold. Thanks to Chris Edwards for putting that one together out at Trosper. And then New Year's Day at Tulsa, the Tom Thomas Memorial. If you haven't called and got your spot reserved, might give them a ring down at Tulsa Archery Association. That'd be my good buddy Bobby Johnson taking RSVPs. I think they're going to do 3 lines, so plan on making that one. And we're going to close out. That's going to be the end of 2025, Dave.
I am in for noon on the TAA shoot at Tulsa. That's my timeline. Yeah.
I got to call Bobby back. He's about 2 or 3 phone calls back today, so I need to call him back and get my time reserved as well, because we've been playing with a little draw length on the indoor bow on the Exodus 37. Dave, you told me to put 4 twists in it. You didn't tell me to check the timing, which I did in fact need to do. So I put 4 twists in the string, shortened it up just a hair. I mean, just one of them hairs right there. And it was about perfect, but it was just not holding. I was kind of kicking up. So put it back on the timing board, took a turn out, put a turn in, top, bottom, back and forth. And it held pretty good today. It was like I was moving, like I could tell I'd had been 5 hours in the car today and a little bit of caffeine and everything else kind of run down. So I was not shooting my best, but the bow was holding. I mean, we might be onto something here. So
glad to hear it.
It's working out. How's the warehouse dojo treating you for the indoor game?
It's working, man. I'm kind of what I told myself was I'm starting my Lancaster stamina shoot stuff now. So right now I'm doing 6 and 7 ends with 4 arrows per end and doing 3 of those sessions at a time. Well, I say at a time, I'm taking about a 20-minute break in between each one. So I'll do, 24, 27 arrows, stop, rest about 20 minutes, turn around, do it again, I just finished it before we come on doing my 3rd session. I will go to 5 arrows next week, but I wanted to just kind of creep up on it. Yeah.
I got you. Ramping it up.
Yeah,
and remind everybody at home, you a couple of weeks ago weren't sure if you were going to be able to shoot this year. So
yeah, I completely thought I blew my shoulder out. Thought I rotator cupped it, but it ended up just being some bone spurs. I was off 5-6 weeks, and just kind of getting into it 2 weeks ago. Doing 20 arrows and calling it quits. 20 arrows, calling it quits, and now I'm back at it. Next week I'll go to the 5 arrows, and maybe the week after, first week of January, I'll go to 10 ends per session. That's my goal. Yeah.
I remember shooting Lancaster last year, and it was just 3 arrows at a time, but it's back-to-back rounds. So,
and it's 20 ends total.
Yeah, it's it's substantial. It's not as bad as the Rushmore Rumble 5-spot Vegas, which is just gives me fits and keeps me up at night. But it's a lot of arrows back to back.
Yeah, and it's a mental game, because when you get tired, yes, your muscles want to move, twitch, do whatever you want to call it. So you have to keep that mental game in your shot process, and that's where it pays off.
It's about finding a rhythm, staying in a rhythm, and don't change nothing, you know?
Well, now I don't know about changing. I kind of like doing that.
Well, the hardest part of indoor is that it's over and over, and eventually what was working is all of a sudden not working. You start overthinking, rethinking, and I'm clean 8th in. I better start trying to not miss. Well, thinking about trying to not miss is not part of anybody's shot process. If it is part of your shot process, come see us. We'll get you some real coaching. We'll get you some advice and some guidance, because oh no, don't miss shouldn't be anywhere between maintain pressure and execute.
Yeah.
I used to give Steve Wingo fits. He had a full head of hair before I started telling him this, that there's no such thing as aiming in archery. And Steve believes that aiming is the one true part of archery. It's just aim and nothing else. I said, no, you're just looking at it and just executing. There's no part of there's aim, because to me, aim says don't miss. Aim says closer to the middle or not there. I look at it as a negative. During your shot process, it ought to be, come on, baby, come on, get it, go. It's gone. And there's not any room for hesitation in there. It's when you get the hiccups and the giddy ups.
Well, I think maybe it's the way one describes aiming to themselves versus what someone else does.
Yes.
You know, aiming to you is going to be different than as aiming is to me. So all I'm doing is 100% thinking of my front arm, front hand. And yes, my eyes looking through my scope, through my pen, and all I want to do is look at the dot, the hole, the X, whatever I'm seeing, and all I do is I want to hold this bow arm. I do not even want to know my backhand. I don't want to think, okay, pull that thumb around or switch that third finger just a little bit and nestle it in a little tighter. Nope, I don't even think that backhand. If I think that backhand, I think, let's giddy up and go. So I seriously am not even looking at or thinking of or pushing that backhand. 100% of my thought process is in my front arm, front hand. That's it. I just want to hold it still until I hear it hit. That's all I'm working on.
You got to have one thing to focus on. You got to have
Yeah.
one true thought. And to me, it's just maintain pressure, because if you maintain pressure, the bow stays up. If your eyes were looking at the center, it's going to go there.
Yeah.
So today I had all kinds of movement, but the pin was just there. The dot, rather, shooting a dot for indoor. The dot was just right there, and it would catch outside and move back to the center as it broke, because I know from here to that arrow leaving, I have correction. I have something coming back to true middle. So
Yeah.
you never know what exactly it is that people are thinking about. But like it was Joe Dirt that said, you can't have no in your heart.
Well, what we're saying also is it's those sports psychiatrists. It's those that think and have studied the brain waves. And all of them will tell you your conscious mind can think just one thing. So I don't want it to be thinking of this release. I make my mind think of my front hand. I make my mind think of hold your hand open during and then of the shot. I'm thinking that so that it doesn't know what I'm doing on the back end. And that's what I've been doing since I flipped when I went to my button. It's working. The handful of shots that I go, okay, let's nestle that third finger. Let's get it a little bit tighter into my thumb. Dude, all of a sudden I'm pulling it through. Oh my gosh, I wasn't thinking of my front hand, and now I'm 7 o'clock on the outside looking into the 10. Or 4 o'clock, same thing. And I'm like, okay, start thinking of and the front hand again. And dude, it just literally it goes off and it is working. So I need to make sure that's all I do is concentrate on the front.
Yeah, just you explained it as you are one line of pressure between your front hand and your back
Yeah.
anchor. And as long as you maintain that line of pressure, Sly told me to relax my hand into it and just pull, which when you relax it naturally will rotate somehow. It's hard to duplicate a sorry, I'm playing around here trying to get our guest for today on here. He said he's logged in and ready to go. Speak of the devil,
There he
there
is.
he is.
He found
How
his
are
way.
you today?
I'm pretty good. I'm not very technologically savvy. I was kind of fumbling around with it.
It's all good, man. Don't worry about it. These are easy to do. So, Dave, this is Tim Yohman. Tim's tell me if I get this wrong, a senior open pro shooter out of Texas.
Yep.
I know we're gonna catch some grief for having another Texas guy on, but been going back and forth with Tim all winter talking tunes and new bows and old bows and 3D and indoor and everything else. And I think everybody else is going to get to share the benefit of it. So Tim, introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Tim Yohman here. I'm pretty much archery lifer. Grew up with a bow in my hand most of my life. My dad started me out when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. We had a little sporting goods store growing up, Northeast Ohio, and started shooting competitively as a sophomore in high school. Maybe shot IBO for a couple years in high school, and then went away to the military and kind of put it down for a while. And then picked it back up again, late 90s, early 2000s, when IBO was kind of in its heyday, and competed for, I don't know, probably 9 years or so in IBO. Shot the open class, and just, really enjoyed it. And then put it down again in roughly 2008, 2009. My wife and I got pretty heavily involved in church, and we started doing some short-term mission work and kind of fell in love with that and started traveling the world, a couple times a year doing different trips. And, just knew I couldn't do both. I couldn't, we know how much the archery thing, how much it takes. So, put it up for a while. And then 2017, we moved here to Central Texas, just north of Austin, about 30 miles, not in Austin, got to make that clear, but Austin's a little weird, but about 30 miles northwest of Austin. And then in 2021, I was invited on a hunt by a friend of mine, and found an archery club a couple miles from my house, and went over to sight my hunting bow in and found out they had 3D shoots. And that following spring, I went to one of their 3D shoots, and I made it about halfway through the course. And I called my wife and I said, I'm back in. She hit the credit cards real quick.
Well, I've got 2 or 3 questions that'll help loosen you up and get you talking and doing all that. First intense question. Are you a Chevy or a Ford man?
A Dodge man.
Dodge man. Oh, I like option C.
Yeah.
All right. Ice cream. Sundays, cones, or cups?
Oh, I'm a banana split guy. I like a little bit of fruit to try to deceive myself that I'm eating healthy.
All right, last one, final. Ice water, tea, or a soda pop man?
I'm definitely an ice water guy.
There you go.
Drink a lot of water.
So here's one that you should know off the back of your hand. Real simple. Tell everyone what you're shooting and your setup.
So my current target setup is the new 2025 Mathews Title with the limb shift technology. It's a Title 38. I'm pulling about 70.5 pounds, close to 20 pounds of holding weight. Running Bee Stinger Premier Plus stabilizers, Hamsky hybrid target rest, Excel Achieve XP Pro, Shrewd Optim 40 on the 3D setup, X Focus 365 lens, 6 power, with the Hamsky A Plus clarifier.
What shaft?
I think that's everything.
Arrows.
Oh, arrows. Oh, I've just started shooting Victory this year, and I'm really, really liking the Victory. I'm shooting the VTEC 25 for 3D, and I currently have 140 grain of the competition, the old school knockbusters. up front, and then I'm running an FFP 200 and a 4 Fletch on those for now. I just fletched them up, and then the following day found out that Fletch is coming out with a new vane, so more than likely I'll be running that new Quad X vane.
I watched that little excerpt they had with Michael Braden last week, and I'm going to tell you what, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I'm ready for it to come out, and in my personal opinion, they need new colors. I'm not a fan of the colors they had.
Well, I think that's just the prelim. I think they offer like 5 or 6 colors in that preliminary launch, but they'll offer it in their, all their colors, and once they kind of get it up and running. I've had several people ask me about the clear. A lot of guys like the clear. But yeah, anytime that you can listen, you can sit down and talk to Michael Braden or listen to Michael Braden talk about archery, you're going to gain some understanding. He's been coaching me for about a year and a half, 2 years. So anytime you ask him a question, you need to block out about 20 minutes of time. So, because he's gonna tell you, some people, if you ask them why, they get a little agitated. They don't want to, he wants to tell you why. He wants to tell you about every test that he's ever ran, and why he does what he does, and he can back it up.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Definitely is a very knowledgeable person.
Yep.
You can tell. Yeah.
I think it's good to be able to basically show your math like you used to do in arithmetic. If you can say, yeah, try the 3 Fletch here, try the 4 Fletch. If you notice this, look for this. If this does this, then you go here. It's like, it's a recipe you're following. Mm-hmm. I was talking a little bit about draw length with Robert Rankin the last couple of days, and just how to know what you're fine tuning and what order to put the process in. Yep. And guys like that are mentally, they're natural coaches. It's like Ryan Thomason. He can break something really complex down to a very small pea brain size, like for somebody like me. And it's just, I got to watch Michael shoot a few targets down at the Texas State this past summer, and he just pull back, let down. Come on, Michael. Come on. Strong shot. Just talking to himself. And I think I started doing it about halfway through, and we crossed paths on there. He looked over at me like, this guy talks to himself like me. His name's Michael too. I'm like, no, I'm talking to me. When I need a strong shot, my name's going to be Michael. He's like, oh, great. I got it. It's like the Happy Gilmore guy who talks about you put the quarter in the carousel and it goes up and down and around with the music. Like, that's literally what we're witnessing on the 3D trail. So you gotta find guys that are mentally willing to go basically into the trenches with themselves.
Yeah. There's guys who coach, who there's a lot of people out there who coach, but there's very few people who are meant to be a coach. Like that's like their life's call. Like Ryan that you mentioned, Michael Braden. Those are definitely two that. Those are two I've been pretty fortunate, pretty blessed. Ryan's been a big influence in my life too. When I first got back into it, and I got the TRX 38, and he was just somebody that I was moving into the semi-pro class, and he had won. He'd won out of the semi-pro class that year. So he was somebody that I just kind of reached out to and just asked a couple questions about the TRX 38, and we kind of hit it off. And next thing you know, we're talking, every single morning, and we're hashing it out about judging yardage and game plan and setup and holding weight, and you name it. So what our wives are mad at us about.
Oh, the important stuff.
The important stuff. Yep.
That's what I love most about Ryan. Some pros out there are going to tell you a little bit of advice, not the whole secret. I think the moment Ryan won out as semi-pro, it was his goal to help everybody in that class win out as well. It was just, he's an open book. He's really approachable.
Yep. And a heart of gold. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Peddling dartings to all the world, spreading the love. He got half of Oklahoma hooked on him.
Yeah.
We're running into a shortage right now, trying to hook everybody up.
Yep.
It's hard. So you've had the new title for a month, a couple weeks?
Yeah, probably 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I was waiting on a couple accessories and everything to get it set up. But I mean, I literally, the day that I knew I had everything, that the UPS guy was coming and I was going to set it up, I came home from work and I got home, I don't know, about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I put it in the press, got everything on it, everything set up, went out and shot it through the paper and had a bullet hole in 6 shots, where it may have even been a little bit quicker, but I was kind of, messing with that limb shift technology. I didn't want to go too far, so I was kind of, just inching along, moving the tear over, and I mean, got it, shooting a bullet hole with a Fletch shaft and 6 shots. And then went to the bear shaft, and within another shot or two, I had the bear shaft shooting a bullet hole, and then pulled all my Fletch shafts back out and knock tuned everything, and came back in and ate dinner, and went to bed by 9 o'clock. So it was a very quick and easy setup. So no trips, several trips back and forth, changing out top hats, and which wasn't a bad system. That was that was a great system. But I was hoping, that eventually that they would, get on the same path that, Elite got, and Bowtech and some of the others, and get a tuning system like that where, you could really, just, quickly and efficiently do it on the range. And then I took it to a shop here near my house on Saturday and shot a little bit, and again pulled out a bear shaft and was hitting maybe about 3 inches to the right at 20 yards from my Fletch shaft, and just started turning the limb shift technology just a little bit at a time, and just walked it over to where they were both hitting the same. So I plan on trying to maybe do that at distance. I haven't with the top hats. You really couldn't do that, just because you were trying to move your rest, and it seemed like when I would get to 30 and 40 yards and I would shoot the Fletch shaft and then shoot the bear shaft, every little movement of the rest, it seemed like it would ping pong from one side of the Fletch shaft to the other. But with this, I think you can move it such a minute amount where I was kind of jealous. Jeremy Balderrama was posting some stuff where he was doing it at 40, 50 yards with the Elite with the bear shaft, and I'm like, man, I'd love to do that. And then it wasn't, long after that they announced the limb shift technology. So,
okay, question for, say, like you thinking it was approximately 3 inches to the right.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to try to picture your Allen wrench turning, not left, right, we don't care, but how much of a move did you make on that Allen wrench?
I'd say I turned it probably a 16th of a rotation on the top and a 16th on the bottom.
Wow, little and nothing then.
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's very
pretty sensitive.
Yeah.
Yep. So something we ran into with last year's title, and this is just a theory, and I've talked to Michael about this a little bit, and I don't know if I'm on track or not, but I'm not an engineer by any means. But I think with the wider limbs and the longer axle, I think the movements are more pronounced, because with the top hats, we kind of and I know that FMJJ or whatever his name is that runs the Podium Archery, he started manufacturing some different some half-size top hats, and that's something I got into last year, because I was getting when I was trying to micro tune, I was going from a left tear to a right. And it wasn't much. I mean, it was with the bear shaft. It was maybe a 1/4 inch left, 1/4 inch right, but I wanted it just perfect, and it seemed like the rest didn't affect it that much. So a guy that I shoot with in the senior pro class, he's a machinist, and he said, hey, I've been milling down some. He said, I take the bigger size top hats, and I've been milling them down. He says, what size do you want? So I asked him for two equal. I wanted my cam dead in the center of the axle, so that seemed like that shot the best for me. I shoot a really neutral grip style. I try to get my hand in the most neutral spot possible, and then I shoot V bars, and I shoot almost equal weight on the back, so I don't put a whole lot of bias on the bow. So I want it like I want everything kind of down the middle, and it seems to hit the best for me.
Well, you definitely a Braden protege shooting V bars.
Yeah.
You run them off the back or off the front?
Off the back.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dave, are you V-barring? Are you not V-bar? You're V-barring.
No,
No?
I got a single bar coming off the back.
All the cool
That's
kids
right.
are doing.
Slides back to V-barring. I knew somebody was doing the devil magic.
But my devil magic is my front bar.
You should go up to Mike. Take some time if you got a little bit of time. Go up to Michael and ask him. Say, why do you shoot V bars, or why is a V bar better than a single bar?
Woo! And buckle up.
Yeah, bring a drink with you. Pack a lunch. He's gonna tell you.
I used to shoot them when I shot Olympic recurve, and it was a mass weight of the bow problem then, and probably still is. I had one, and it was down to like 3, and it was down to 2, and then it was down to 1, and I'm like, I didn't know what I was looking for, because it changed that pivot point and the grip so much that everything on the bow is different, and I kind of got freaked out just a little bit. So I abandoned it pretty quickly, but I gave it a good half a day at the range. I did. I tried. And now it's a financial constraint now.
Right.
It's like, golly.
Yeah, I can. With the price of everything, what it is, and it's it seems to be getting more and more. Like every year, it seems that price of equipment's going up.
It's gotta support the industry. Until they get some non-endemic sponsors, till we get Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Gatorade, all those guys, you can't. That's the worst thing about Target Archery is how hard we lean on our manufacturers to, hey, we need some contingency money, and we need some prize money, and we need some free product, and we need this and that. It's like, guys, if you ever read The Giving Tree, you skip to the end. I'll tell you how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
only go back to the well so many times before that you dip that bucket down there and you pull it up and there's nothing in it. So
trying to tell people, everybody out there wants to be sponsored and wants some gear for free, and it's like, you guys, you got to be happy when a guy gets it. You got to be proud of him and be happy for him and excited. But if you just take and take and take, there's eventually it's going to run out. So I tell people that's the best and worst thing about target archers is we might help the hunting guys and the tack guys put their bows together at the shop, but that side of it's where the money comes from. So you got to remember.
Yep. I get a lot of guys reach out to me and ask me that, like, how do I get sponsors, or how do I get on with this company or that company? And my first answer is always support your local shop first. That's get affiliated with the local shop. When I was coming up in the late 90s, I think Mathews had something. I think they called it the co-op program. And I think you were required to spend a certain amount of hours at that shop. Like the shop paid for part of the bow, and then you paid for part of the bow. If I may be butchering that up, but I want to say that's how it worked. But you were required to spend some time there. And that's kind of the first, when I got back into it, that was the first. I knew that was kind of the life source, if you will. Like I knew those were the guys that were going to not just sponsor you, but help you, like get your equipment set up and, kind of point you in the right direction. And I went into Hoffy's Archery in Lampasas and talked to them, and they didn't have anybody. They're definitely a hunting. They're more affiliated to the hunter. They don't really have much going on with target archery. And when I approached him about it, he said, "So what are you looking for? Are you looking for us to just give you some stuff?" I said, "No, I'm looking to be affiliated with the shop, and try to help me, introduce me to, a bow company or whoever, and, and help me out in that way." And he said, "Well, what are you going to do for us?" I said, "Well, I'll come in one Saturday a month, especially as, leading up into hunting season, when you guys are busy, and, I'll build arrows, or I'll, whatever you want me to do. Like, you want me to, go clean the bathroom, I'll go clean the bathroom." So he said, we've never had anybody offer. We've had a bunch of people come in with their hand out asking for stuff, but we've never had anybody offer to, do anything for us. So he said, let me talk to the owner and let me think about it. So I came back in maybe a couple weeks later, and he said, we'd be happy to have you shoot for us. So that was my first sponsor. And then, I picked up a string company, or, then you get on some of these advisory staffs for, companies like Shrewd or Excel and True Ball, and kind of start working your way through there. And then I started approaching, sent a resume into Mathews the first year, and I didn't get on. And then the second year, they called me and said, hey, your shop sent us an email and said, if you're going to get on with us, they said, the reason that you'll be on with us is because of the email that the shop sent us. They said they've sold more target bows since you've started coming around, and target equipment. And they say you constantly send people in there, and you're always talking the shop up and trying to be a good representation. So if I can give any piece of advice to anybody as far as getting sponsors, it would be that. Go and, don't just go and asking for stuff, but go and, contribute your time, and, and you're going to learn stuff being in there, being around the shop. And so I would definitely, that would be my biggest piece of advice for anybody looking for a sponsor.
And I'll tell you, I own a couple businesses, and that is absolutely a great way to be. I've got some we call them brand ambassadors for our barbecue company.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, we've got about 45, 48 right now brand ambassadors out there. And the first thing I ask for anybody that sends me an email or talks to me about it is like, send me over a link to the social medias that you use. And it can be any of them. I don't care, or all of them. And what I do is I scroll back. Number one, I don't want to hang my hat behind someone that is on there barking the whole time. I want a good person. Ultimately, that's what I'm looking at. I don't want someone, I'll just say it, cussing out someone, or all one-sided on a point of view or of whatever. And then I look like, for me, for cooking, if they post something of their smoker or their rubs or their ribs or their whatever, like if it was archery or a target or whatever, I look at how many people responded to that post, that picture, because that's the telltale sign to me that they've got an audience that they're reaching, that they're talking with, that they're communicating with. And that's a huge factor for me. If not, if it's 6, 7, 8 people, I apologize right now, but hey, I've got a cousin and 3 people in my family that's going to like every one of my posts also. So it's a big deal out there right now. And at one time I was sponsored by Yeti, which should be in the archery world, but they're not. And with their
they're down here in Austin.
Yes, that's exactly right. They have a person on staff that would, all year long, she counted every time you hashtagged or you posted with Yeti in the comments. She had to keep up with it. That was her job. And buddy, you talk about, she would come on and say, you need to bring on 15,000 more hashtags this next year. You need to do, it's a business. And that's exactly what you're talking about. For these local shops, it's a business. You need to contribute to their business some shape, form, or fashion. And that's, you're absolutely right.
A good example of somebody there in Oklahoma is Josh Jacobson. I look at that guy's social media, and he's extremely professional.
Very good.
Like and he's working his way up as a shooter. Like he's pretty humble, and he'll tell you, "Oh, I'm not a pro," but like that guy grinds it out. Like you can see it. Like he's putting the time in. So on the social media end and on just trying to gain skill, like that guy's definitely going somewhere. You guys he's an up and comer up there for sure.
Yeah. And I get asked a lot, well, how do you build that? How do you do that? It's not just a liking friends. You have to work at building people on your pages. It's part of a job in essence. And if you want this in your job for shooting archery, you got to have this in your job for attributing back to the sport.
Yeah, they want to see that you're moving the needle for sure. So
Yeah.
I say point out in there, it's not a matter of being good enough to shoot pro. It's, do you conduct yourself like a professional would? Are you hanging out in the shops? Like Dan Gaston might have not been pro in a couple of years, but he's been at the archery shop 6 days a week for many, many, many years straight, rigging up amp skis and QADs and tying in peeps and giving, I mean, he'll step in and give a lesson to kid when the shop owners get busy. He is literally doing it all in a shop, and he's just there to shoot a few arrows in between breakfast and lunch. You know, it's not, you got to give back to the community in that way. And I'd have him, whatever was on his bow, I'd have him pro staff for everything, but it changes pretty frequently. So it's hard to keep up with, because he wants to try the the new rest comes out, or the new sight light, or he's going to put his hands on it. He's going to rig it up. He's going to change that fiber color. And by the time, a couple weeks have been by, he's probably installed a half dozen on his bow alone, and then done another half dozen on customers. So it's guys like that are making, keeping archery interesting, because we've all seen the stereotypical bow hunter that's got a Mathews switchback, and they shoot just like my Uncle Glenn. He shoots 6 arrows a year, all of them through a deer, hangs his bow up, and he buys arrows every other year. They just don't, they're not fascinated by the newest, coolest, fastest, shiniest thing. And you don't have to be pushy on it. Like, we're not used car salesmen here. I just want you to shoot your bow.
Yep.
And if I can show you something cool, like, hey, check out these points. They don't let you kick out as much. Or have you seen these new knocks? They're, square on the back, so they really kick the guy you're shooting out, So little stuff like that, and you can change somebody's opinion. It's like, well, let me get some new arrows. Well, let me get a new this. And it's like, well, it's kind of like peddling drugs. You get them hooked.
Yeah, get like the crack dealer. You get them on the comeback.
Yeah, drugs would be a cheaper hobby, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you get kids involved in target archery, they won't have money for drugs.
Yeah, that's.
But you mentioned sight light, and when you said that, I forgot to mention I'm going to be shooting Zebros this year too. So Brad and Kara, definitely want to give them a shout out, picking that up and running with it again. So this is my first year shooting a Zebros, but I've been an old school LP guy for a while, but I think I'm ready to move on. I love the fact of being able to change the color of the fiber. Yeah,
that was always big for me too.
So what's your plan for 3D shooting this year? Or let me step back. Are you a 3D shooter, or are you an indoor shooter?
I am 90% 3D, about 10% indoor. And Michael's been trying to change that. And then Randy Morocco is a big influence as well. I've known Randy. He was a pastor at our church in Ohio. And as I was kind of getting out of it in 2008 is when I met Randy. And then when I got back in it, he was one of the first people that I called and to try to get me up to speed on a lot of the new stuff that's going on. But I just put my calendar together yesterday for 3D. I want to try to hit some Siwats here in Texas. I'll probably hit Lancaster next year. I won't do any big indoor. But
tell everyone what the Siwats is.
So Siwat is shoot your way across Texas. It's 5-spot. There's I don't know how many there are. There's probably 20 or 30 at least.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a bunch.
Yeah, they start in November sometime, and they go. I think the state shoot at Cinnamon Creek is usually in March, I want to say. But usually by that time, I mean, we're so heavy into 3D. But I counted with I'm going to do all 6 pro-ams again this year. And then there should be 14 qualifiers that I'll be able to make it to that are within driving distance of my house here in Texas. And then the 14 that I'll shoot, and then we're putting one on at our club as well. So, and that's March 8th and 9th. So it'll be a pretty busy year.
Yeah. Schedule looks like mine.
Yeah. And I mean, you're on fire, man. People, if you ask anybody about Neil Cooley and what's going on in the state of Oklahoma, like they are really, people got good things to say about you. So
They just got to meet him once. I mean,
right.
I was gonna say the last round I shot, I think I changed my draw length mid round, and the only thing I was saying is don't drop the F-bomb in front of these kids. You know it. I'm glad we're moving the needle. I think we had somebody said at this last jackpot he talked to 2 or 3 people that saw the live stream and they wanted to come try it out. And if you're not an archery person, it's not fun to watch. But if you're like halfway in and you see it live in 4K, man, I think it makes you want to get out there. It's like being right out of college and you're like, I can still play football. Let me go throw the ball around. And target archery is so hard to get people into because they're intimidated. They don't want to shoot for score. They don't want to shoot bad. They don't want to be embarrassed. It's like, dude, I blanked a target at the state ASA. I've shot the wrong target in field rounds. I shot David Griffin's arrow on the 30th arrow of a Vegas face. I shot the wrong target on the last arrow. What? I mean, this is not rocket science. We're just we're out here having fun. And I think somebody was telling me a joke, and I was trying to talk over here and shoot over here, and it just. But man, that means all the world to know that we're just trying to grow the sport. That's all it is.
We've all done that, shooting the wrong target. I shot a Siwat a couple years ago with Jeremy Balderrama, and I were shooting together, and we were kind of going back and forth. I had a really good round going. I think I was on track to shoot 57, 58 X's, and he had a really good round going, and I was relaxed. Like I think I was too relaxed, and I got up. I think it was 2 ends after the break. And I got up and I had moved to the bottom and I got up and just smashed, inside out on the top target. And he was standing behind me. He goes, "Hey, knucklehead, wrong target." I'm like, "Oh, man." I had to do the walk of shame down and pull the arrow. And so, yeah, everybody's done it.
oh, that's looking. Yeah, exactly.
The last time I went to indoor nationals, I dropped. This is Louisville. I dropped 2 points in each one, so I was sitting at a 596, and my X count was way down there. I mean, this was right as I was getting back into it, and I looked at everybody that had a 595 and 119 X's, and I'm sitting here thinking, how am I above these people? And then it finally realized at the turn they shot the wrong target, and there was, hundreds of people that I was 1 point ahead of and 40, 50, 60 X's behind. And I'm like, yes, shanked 4 arrows out of 120 and beat a lot of people that are probably then and now a better shot than me. So that's the thing about archery is you just got to be approachable. And if it takes going in there and, making some jokes and shanking some arrows, that's fine. And there's a time for being serious. There's a time to, focus on it. Okay, let's be quiet. Everybody's on the line, but it doesn't have to, it's not the PGA, we hoot and holler and everything else. It's at the end of the day, it's, hey, look at this deer I saw on cam the other day. And everybody's on the line. It's like, you're good.
I think that's probably what I like more about. One of the things I like about 3D as opposed to indoor. Indoor can be a little bit stuffy at times. I was shooting a Siwat a couple years ago, and I had a young girl shooting in front of me on the line. I wasn't even paying attention, and sometimes I'll whistle a song to myself when I'm nervous, and I didn't realize it. She turned around and looked at me like, "If you don't stop whistling, I'm going to take the stabilizer and go upside your head." So, where 3D like I can't say enough about the Senior Open Pro class. It is the best group of guys. Everybody's serious. Everybody wants to win, but also at the same time, they know there's, it's a game at the end of the day, and nothing to get too incredibly riled up about. So, and everybody, is rooting for everybody else. My wife came to Minden last year. It was her first experience at a pro-am. And I was shooting in a group with, I want to say it was Brad Martin, he had some bow issues. Everybody stopped what they're doing and we're pulling tools out and everybody's, helping him fix his bow. And I don't know if it was on the way home or when we got home. She said, "That's the craziest thing I've ever seen." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Your competition's bow broke and everybody stopped and pulled their tools out and everybody helped him fix his bow." And then he went on, to beat you guys. Like, well, that's you'd be hard pressed to find a better group of human beings than you find in the archery community.
Yeah,
That's
right.
that's the thing about it. If I ever have a good day and come out on top, I don't want it to be because your peep sight slid, your rest broke. I don't want any asterisk by it. If my day ever comes, I want it to be my day, and that means everybody shot their best, and I did too.
Your days
That's just
keep grinding.
we got the draw length figured out. We got the draw length. We moved the peep sight. We're almost got the let off where it needs to be, and we're about cooking. We're just about there.
Draw length, loop length, peep height, let off, kind of, and then stabilizer weights. Then when you get all that going, all that working in harmony, you'll be doing good.
It actually went all the way back down to my feet. Believe it or not, I was talking to Robert Rankin, another name drop, and my bottom left target was just like that. I mean, and the top and the right were just kind of all over, and it was, I need to close the feet back up just a little bit. I was coming too far open, and that bottom left target, I worked that thing over. But the other two, he's like, well, think about your alignment. You close the feet up, pivot on the heels, kind of let's walk through the steps, and that's great. I've been shooting archery 30 years, not at any kind of high level, but we go all the way back to what's your draw length? Well, let's talk about your stance first, and then talk about your draw length, and then talk about your peep sight and your loop length and stuff like that. So you find different ways to diagnose and move through it that it can make sense, because Dave will be the first one to tell you, I don't tinker or tune a lot. Dave's usually the one pushing me to, let's put it in the press and, come on, let's do something to it. Don't just struggle forever.
Make a change.
And yes, and now that I can do that, I'm having fun with this dart, and I just do it all at once. This is all, let's try this and try that, and there's no rhyme or reason or system to it. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, let's be surgical about this, because 3D season's only 3 months away, and you ain't close to ready.
My brother's drag race, and the biggest thing that you could do is not change everything. I mean, and all of a sudden, if you get up there and make a great pass, well, was it the air pressure in the tires? Was it the gap in the spark plug? Was it your the pressures on your rear axle? What was the change that fixed what was happening? Your 60-foot mark.
And if one's good, two's better.
Yeah, that's right. So in archery, you could do two things. But I think the difference is here in archery, you have to be smart enough to analyze what it changed. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't realize it, and then 3 shots later, you're like, dadgummit, I'm left and right. I'm left and right. Well, what you changed back then is maybe why you're going from left to right now, and you don't even realize it because it's been 5 shots.
That was something that the first coaching session I had with Michael Braden, he puts that laser on your stabilizer, and he starts, he kind of checks out your sight picture, and he starts making changes. Like he starts, let's do this, let's do that. And he mentioned that to me. He said, I can, and it's a little creepy. Like he's watching the laser, and he's telling you what you're doing. You're collapsing in your, in your back arm. You're bringing your bow shoulder in. Like he knows what you're doing by watching the laser. He's not even looking at you. But that was something that he said to me early on. He said, I can see you with the laser. He said, I can see you feeling your way through these changes and, and getting in that headspace. Okay, what did this change do? How does that feel? Like, where is this, how is this? So that was something that he kind of, I didn't even realize that was something that, that I was doing, but
or that it can even be analyzed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he wants you to analyze every shot. Like, sometimes I go to I'll go to one of the local shops or whatever, and you have your average bow hunters or, just sometimes people who shoot just for fun in there. And that's the biggest thing I see with an average, just an everyday Joe shooter, where they'll ask me like, what can I do to get better? Well, don't run up to the line and just whip through every arrow in your quiver as fast as you can, and then run down there and pull them and then whip through them again. Like, take your time. And if you only shoot 3 arrows to make 3 really good quality arrows to where you can kind of, get inside that headspace and kind of figure out like, okay, if I put a little bit of grip pressure here, if I do this, I do that, to where you're not just, just slow down a little bit.
That's right. I agree totally.
Have a good sense of shot. Like, I've missed a lot of arrows, not a good thing, but I can tell you based on feeling before it lands, like, oh, pushed it high left. Okay, drop my arm. Okay, it was right when it broke. You got to be able to be mature and say, oh, the bow didn't miss. You missed. You got to own it. It's being in that. And that's, I think for me, that's been the biggest struggle tuning is I've been to the biggest shoots in the world. I've got beat by the absolute best and worst of them on the line. I don't get as nervous there. I get nervous when I'm tuning because, Dave came out to the warehouse, or I got, one day to put it together before the tournament, and trying to break clean shots to evaluate while tuning is where a lot of my target panic will come from. And that's by myself in the backyard. That's not at Vegas. That's not at Coleman. That's not at Lancaster. It's just me by myself at the range trying to see if I'm, bobbing up and down too long draw length, or if I'm pushing them left and right too short draw length. Like, come on, get it together, dude.
Yeah, get it together.
That's
another thing that says a lot. Get your crap together.
Yep. Greg Poole says, get your poop in a group.
Yep. That's good.
Yep.
Shout out to Greg Poole. It's good seeing him do more stuff these days. I was getting heavy carrying the podcasting world in archery. Good to see some broad shoulders to help do some of that lifting.
No, that's good. You're heading your goal places, man. I believe that.
We're trying. A lot of times it feels like we're just kind of running in circles, but you see new people coming out and new people getting involved in it. It's like, yeah, they weren't here last year, or if they were, I didn't see them because I, shot really poorly and left immediately.
Yeah.
And one of our host clubs told me, I think they had like a 1/4-2 target, and they'd had 2 qualifiers, and I think they were like, why didn't you say anything after the first one? It's like, I literally shot so bad I couldn't say a bad word about it because that course beat me up. So I was like, yeah, they need to be, broadside or 1/4 away slightly, like just small matters. He's like, you should have said something. I was like, if I said anything, I was gonna cry. I had like the movie Friday. He goes, cry in the car. It happens, man. That's 3D. You come out and you beat a course and you shoot, 10, 16, 20, whatever up. Yeah. But it's the ones where you just barely over 200, just 202, 204. It's like, man, I fought for them 4 up. That was not given. That was earned.
Those days where everything's a struggle. The bow feels foreign, and yep.
So for all of our yardage judging people, tell them a little bit about your course management strategy for 3D. Are you aim center and dial it? Are you uppers, lowers? What's your
lower guy? I'm a lower guy and shoot a little bit bigger number. I'm going to say that Ryan Thomas, and the top of his head's probably going to come off when I say this, but I am we go back and forth. He's a ground judger, and I am more of a target acquisition guy or target recognition guy. The unfortunate, like the hard part about target recognition is you have to spend a lot of time looking at targets. Like you can get out of practice pretty quickly. I'm gonna look at the target first and get an initial range. I'll look down at the target and I'll say, okay, the closest I can see it being is 38 and a half. The farthest I can see it being is 40 and a half, 41, and then I'll start kind of working my strategy from there. I've gotten really into listening to arrows within this last year. I have that CD with the, and I think it's at 292, I believe. And he'll have, an arrow at 30, an arrow at 35, an arrow at 40, an arrow at 45, at 50. And I'll listen to all those in sequence. And sometimes I'll stand behind a guy and like I'm snapping on my fingers, and I kind of get in that rhythm. Okay, this is a 40, this is a 45, this is the 50, and I'll listen to that arrow. I shoot with a guy here in Texas, Scott Polk, and I shoot together. We live about an hour apart. We shoot together quite a bit. He'll come up and we'll set targets at Hill Country, or he's got targets set at his house. and him and I are almost exactly the same speed. And it was pretty fun. We got to shoot together he shoots Open Pro and I shoot Senior. But I shot Open Pro at the AMAM in Paris. So me, him, and Ryan, and I can't remember who else, Eric Camp, all shot together. And I know his bow so well, and he knows mine so well, to where I'd shoot a shot and I'd immediately see him go back to his stool and change his sight. Like he's like, oh, nope, got too much on that, or nope, don't have enough on that. So it was kind of fun, us knowing each other as well as we do and knowing each other's bows as well as we do, and kind of, both kind of being in tune. And we traveled together and stayed together that weekend. So there was a lot of trash talk going on. And
it's all fun and games till you bang one out low and you're like, man, was that the number or bad shot? And you just look at them like, guess you'll never know. Shoot it.
I've had probably 4, 5, 6 rounds in the last couple of years to where they were good rounds, but they were close to being really good rounds, to where I had, 3 or 4 that were those 4-point swings where they're just on. We had, in fact, at Texas State this year, I shot with Scott again, and a couple other guys. And they called one out on that short. I don't know if you remember that short javelina. They called one out on that where two guys voted it out. One guy voted it in. And I had 4 that day that were just under, and that was the closest one. It was so close. Had I got any one of those, I would have won. I lost by 3 points to Randy Duran. But when we were done, I was kind of griping and groaning about it. And he had written, when they voted it, they wrote it on his hand, and he showed it to me, and he said, I'm going to get this 8 tattooed on my hand. I'm like, you dirt dog. So
I say, we got a lot of trash talk in sports. Archery is top tier. Top tier.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Neil, we probably need to get off here. I got stuff I got to go do, and I know you do too. Tim, run through your list of sponsors again, and where anybody can stay up with you if you are on the socials.
Mathews is my number 1 sponsor. Hoffy's Archery, Fletch, Victory, Zebros, Shrewd, and True Ball and Excel. It's Tim Yohman on Facebook, and then Reverend Tim Tom on Instagram. I don't know if you guys remember that show, The Middle. Their pastor was Reverend Tim Tom.
Okay. Yep.
I wondered where the Reverend part of that came from, but I guess I never put 2 and 2 together. That's pretty cool.
And I've officiated some weddings and stuff. So that kind of became when I got licensed back in Ohio to officiate some weddings, and my some friends of ours, that was a nickname they started calling me, Reverend Tim Tom. So it kind of stuck.
Nice.
That's it. Got my paperwork filed in Oklahoma County. I can do weddings as well. So Dave, I guess you're the odd man out.
Yep, you are.
You got an actual ordainment. I got one of the onlines to do a couple of friends ceremonies. So that's fun.
Neil, shooting a PSE, I've been called odd before.
Yeah.
This year you're going to be odd and rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an exodus from PSE this year, but
that's right. Yeah, there is.
Oh, they make a great bow though. That's for sure.
Well, that's another podcast.
Have to get somebody on that one.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get off here. Tim, hang on. I got a question to ask you after we finish.
Sure.
Everybody, we appreciate y'all listening. That's all I got.
Y'all be good.
Thanks, guys.